I got my power pole down, stuck in the mud in the bottom of the lake, sitting so still in the wind and the waves, could even be a hurricane.
Hey everyone, welcome to Downtime Live. We are in the JLM studios. We're trying something new here. One of the great things about working here is so many cool people come in here and just talk fishing. And so we're going to start putting that on camera here as part of our Downtime Live. And to get us started, I have our pro staff manager, Casey Carpenter. So we're going to talk a little bit. It is tournament season.
It's firing up, man.
It is. And so the main two tournaments are getting ready to fire up, both the MLF and the Bass.
Yep.
And I think before we can really set up what's coming this season, we should kind of look back a little bit about what happened last year, because it was definitely a transition year with a lot of different things. It was almost chaos between the two things. So let's start off with what happened with MLF, because that kind of explains a lot of what went on with Bass.
Yeah.
So kind of tell us, how that season went.
So basically, 2019 was the first year of the MLF Bass Pro Tour. It was unique in that it was the first national level tour that is on the same caliber as the Bass Elites, as even the FLW Tour. But what made it so interesting and so different is it wasn't a 5-fish limit. It was basically who could catch the most fish within a certain amount of time and have the biggest bag. And that was so unique that BASS has been having a 5-fish limit for 50 years. So it was interesting in that we finally got to see a different format on a national level scale that wasn't 5-fish limits.
Now that made it more TV friendly.
Absolutely.
So, what was the reception like, both among the anglers and, people around the sport?
If we're going to be real with each other, if we're going to be fair, it was 50-50. There's a lot of diehards that are 5-fish limit, 5-fish, big bass. We want you to fish our lake and bring in the biggest bass possible. I want to see the fish that I can never catch, that you can catch. That's always been ingrained in everybody's mind. So it was kind of a hard split right down the middle, because you did have BASS elite guys shift and move over to Bass Pro Tour. So there was a little bit of I don't want to say animosity per se, but there was a bit of a wedge divided between the two trails. It seems like as the season went further and further, they started to kind of mingle together a little more, and it wasn't as much, I don't want to say negativity around it, but it was interesting to say the least.
And, you kind of touched, to get all those anglers on the MLF, they had to go and they, seriously poached some guys out of Bass. What did that do to the overall tour last year?
We got a lot of new faces. A lot of new influx of new anglers, young and old, guys that have been fishing, grassroots level tournaments for years and years and years, and were given the opportunity to step up to the big leagues. A lot of those guys rose to the occasion, and they kicked butt. And it was really interesting to see, the older guard kind of shift over to Bass Pro Tour, totally different format, and let the new guys come in and shine. And they shine, man. I mean, there was one guy, he won 2 tournaments, I believe, back to back. Within, I believe it was literally back to back, and he won 2 events, and that's never been done before. He won $200,000 in a month. That's pretty interesting, and that was his first year fishing elites.
Now, let's start off with the Bass side, looking into 2020. Who are some of those faces that kind of came out? Last year there was chaos and stuff, and now this year, maybe things are a little more set. So who are some of those faces that kind of established themselves last year that we really need to keep an eye on in 2020?
That's a really good question. I think first and foremost would be the Brandon Cobbs, the guys that win back-to-back huge bag tournaments. If I'm not mistaken, Brandon Cobb broke 100 pounds. 100 pounds of bass in 4 days of fishing. You can do the math. That's 25 pounds a day. That's massive across 5 fish. That's unheard of. You've got guys like Micah Frazier, first win of the year in 2019. Those guys have been grinding for years and years, but they just now got their win, and they're finally getting the platform to be able to go out there and show the world what they can really do. You've got the Drew Cooks. I mean, I could go on and on as to all these anglers. The Drew Bentons. You've got Corey Johnston, our team angler. The Canadians. I mean, those guys are coming in and just ringing everybody's bells. There were a few things that happened with Corey this year in terms of equipment and things. Had that not happened, I feel confident he would have won at least one event. So there are a lot of new faces from all over the country. I mean, from the Pacific Northwest, from the South, Northeast, all over, finally getting to fish the platforms that they wanted to fish. Had the Bass Pro guys not pulled out of the elites and moved over, they wouldn't be given this opportunity. So, it could be a glass half full, glass half empty scenario.
So who's going to be that surprise guy that kind of like steps up, you know, that next superstar that maybe people aren't necessarily expecting?
Oh man, that's hard to say because a lot of that can be opinion driven. But I'm a little biased. Obviously, I really want to see Corey Johnston win. I really think this is going to be the year for Corey Johnston and Chris Johnston, the Johnston brothers, to really solidify themselves as top tier bass anglers. Now they already are, but on a level that's a notch above, you know, where they're at. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, you've got the Micah Frasers, the Drew Cooks, the Stetson Blaylocks, the Brandon Cobbs. You could go on and on and on. I mean, there's 88 guys fishing this year. You know, there's 13 new faces this year. So there's 13 guys that they may just come in and just wow everybody.
Let's switch over to MLF. I mean, obviously they had a lot of trial and error last year.
Yeah.
You know, who really stepped up and has embraced that format of fishing and that new kind of style?
Yeah. Yeah, if I had to pick one, I would say it'd probably be Jacob Wheeler. You know, Jacob Wheeler has excelled at that format. He's done really, really well. You know, then you can look at numerous other anglers that have won the events. I mean, you could go on and on and on. But if I had to pick one guy that I think is just excelling, would be Jacob Wheeler or would be Mark Daniels. You got to watch out for Mark Daniels Jr. The guy knows what he's doing. He's popular. He speaks well, and he can catch the heck out of some fish.
What does it take to be able to, you know, really excel in that format? You know, what is it about Mark Daniels and Jacob Wheeler that
I think a lot of it has to do with their ability to put their head down and focus and grind and develop patterns that other people just aren't able to do. And it may take a little bit of time, maybe a slow morning. They may catch them in the afternoon. But if I could summarize it to patterns, being able to develop a pattern, implement it, but change the pattern on the fly and as needed.
Who are some other names on the MLF that we really need to keep our eye on?
Dean Rojas. He won the first one. He won his first Bass Pro Tour last year as well. You've got Chris Lane, of course, Luke Clausen, Jordan Lee. I mean, you've got numerous classic champions fishing the same format. It's so hard to say. I mean, it's really difficult.
Yeah, there's a lot of familiar names there. So who are some of the names maybe we don't know that are like, you know, just now busting through the ranks or, you know, have kind of embrace that tournament style?
Sure.
That maybe the next superstar that we don't know about.
I got one name, and I would say it'd probably be Adrian Avina. Adrian Avina, New Jersey. He's a saltwater captain, striper guy. I think this could be his year. I really do. And it's time will tell. Time will tell.
Now, when you get to travel to a lot of these venues and stuff, just from a pure, you know, where they hold these tournaments, you know, what's your favorite event to go and cover? Whether it's, you know, the fishing, the location, you know, the aesthetics.
So for me, it's anything Louisiana. I'm a huge fan of Toledo Bend. You know, every year when we go to Toledo Bend, we have a big dinner for the Bass family, for all of the anglers, their wives, their girlfriends, their kids. Tony Sashery comes out and cooks for everybody. It's just down home Cajun fun. You know, it's just everything about that is fun. I love Toledo Bend. I love Louisiana. I'm from East Texas. It just feels right.
Well, hey, anything else you want to add about this season?
Man, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. We've got guys from, like I said, all over the country that are going to be vying for championships in both the MLF Bass Pro Tour and the BASS Elites. It's going to be fun. Of course, we want Chris Lane to win on the Bass Pro side, and of course, we want Corey Johnston to win on the Elite side. We're a little biased, but we want everybody to succeed. There's a lot of guys out there running our products, and we want nothing but the best for them. So, fingers crossed, everyone has a stellar year.
Well, hey, that's going to do our show. Hopefully you liked it. This is kind of whatever we want to make it. So what should we talk about? Who do you want me to talk to? You know, shoot me in the comments and let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned, and we're just going to have more talking.
Let's do it. That's what we're doing.
Exactly.
Having fun.
Until then.
Appreciate you.
How do you spend your downtime?